Good morning. It's September 11th, 2018. Um, Means it's been 17 years since the United States had the um, attacks on from terrorists on the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and the attempted attack on the White House that Flight 93 was brought down in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, before it made it to its intended target of the White House. Um, whether your stance on this is that these were terrorist attacks, or some people do have theories that it was our own government that did this, and that these attacks really were staged and never happened. I'm not going to share any of my opinions on this because that's not what this video is about. It's just about just reflecting on September 11th, 2001, and how that day went for me, and just kind of in honor of the firefighters in New York that lost their lives, or their lives were changed by all of the events of this day, and obviously the firefighters in Shanksville and all the emergency personnel, the paramedics, the police, everybody involved. This was obviously probably a life-changing um, incident for all of them. So, anyways, I'll start with what I can remember from that day. It was in the morning, and I was in my American history class. I was a junior in high school, and I remember we were in history class. Um, we were going over. I can't remember what we were learning, and to be honest, history really wasn't my favorite subject. But I remember the door opened, and it was another teacher, and he opened the door of the class, and he told my teacher, "Hey, turn on channel 2, turn on the news. You need to turn it on right now." And my teacher went, turned on the news, and there was a picture of the World Trade Center towers with smoke coming from them, and the headline was "Plane Hits World Trade Center." And at the time, everybody was obviously shocked and scared, and we just thought, okay, so that was a terrible incident that a plane flew into it, something went wrong with the plane maybe, and it just was unfortunate it hit the World Trade Center. Well, then as we're watching it, um, they reported a second plane hit another World Trade Center, and at this time, I kind of thought to myself, well, obviously, that's not a coincidence, and we could all tell that something else was going on, and this just wasn't a plane um, crashing into the building by accident. Um, so, as the time went on, I don't know the time frame, but then we got the report that the Pentagon was hit by a plane, and at this time, obviously, it just confirmed the facts that more was going on than just a simple plane crash. Um, so, obviously, the rest of the day of school, nothing really went on learning wise, as everybody was distracted with this. And, most of our rest of our classes, we just sat there and talked about what happened, talked about our concerns, and our teachers just basically tried to keep us all calm, and everybody, settled for the rest of the time. It was around lunchtime that day that we had learned that a plane went down in Shanksville, which actually is probably about an hour from where I'm located here in Pennsylvania. So it's about an hour, I'd say an hour west from me. So I mean, pretty close to home, obviously. And they said that that plane was supposed to be heading towards the White House to hit the White House, and that the passengers on that plane had brought that plane down in a field in Shanksville. So with all that happening, obviously it was scary that this was so close to home, an hour away. And I remember we had a 1 hour early dismissal from school that day. They let us out and they wanted us to, spend more time with our families, they said. And I went home and my parents and I, we just talked about what happened. Um, my mother was supposed to work that night, and um, they called and said, that they were closing that night where she worked at because of, everything going on. And we just kind of watched the news and just watched what was going to happen, and the addresses from President Bush at the time, and pretty much just reflected on the day. Um, I just remember just being very very concerned that day, very scared. I was a junior firefighter with the local fire department at the time, and I know our fire department was actually on standby just in the station with all the local fire departments, just in case something would happen, around us, or if we were needed somewhere. And actually, a couple of firefighters from my station ended up traveling to New York the day after to help with the rescue missions and and going through the wreckage to try to find any victims that were still alive. And I remember just seeing pictures from that, and that was very moving just to see all that wreckage there, and just to see pictures of all these volunteers arriving to help with the recovery, and helping the victims out there, and helping the New York Fire Department, who was obviously really overtaken with what had happened. Unfortunately, firefighters and emergency personnel, as well as civilians, died from that were in the World Trade Center when they collapsed and around it. And that's the saddest part of everything, that this happened. And but I think it really made some of our country pull together more, at least at that time, and it kind of gave us a patriotic kick in the butt, maybe. Um, but it also started a lot of theories from what actually happened. And like I said, I'm not going to share my opinions on that because this video isn't political. It's not supposed to be about that. It's just just reflecting on September 11th and what happened that day. Um, so anyhow, I've personally visited Flight 93 Memorial out in Shanksville. It's a very nice memorial that they set up there. Um, there's the actual field where the plane crashed down in, and there's a boulder marking where that crater was, where the plane had crashed down. There's a wall with all the victims on it, and there's actually like a visitor center where they have phone calls from the victims on the plane before the plane went down, and they have some reenactments and computer simulation of what actually went on that day with the plane going down and the passengers overtaking the terrorist and making the plane go down so that it didn't get to the White House. So I'd suggest definitely, if you're coming out this way to Pittsburgh area, to look up Shanksville, go up Route 30, and visit the Flight 93 Memorial, as it's just it's something really nice to see. Well, not really. It's sad to see that it happened, but it's a very nice memorial for what had happened. They they really did a good job, and they are currently adding on to it, making a Tower of Voices, it's called. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but it's supposed to be another thing that honors the victims from that crash. So look it up and see if you can make it there, and just take the tour while you're there, and I think you'll really be taken back by everything there. Um, so yeah, that's basically just my reflection of what I remembered on September 11th and what had happened. And at that time, I hope I never have to um, endure that again, or in us as a country, we never have to worry about something like that happening again. I'm very thankful for our, armed services, our armed forces, military, and emergency personnel that risk their lives every day to protect us and keep us safe and keep our freedoms in the world and in this country. So with that, I'm going to close for today. But I just felt the need to make this video on September 11th and share my thoughts and what I can remember. And that's it. I hope you guys have a great day, and just be thankful for everything that we have in this country and in this world. There was a lot of people that fought for our freedoms, and I know I really appreciate that, even though I don't know, obviously the people that all fought and gave up their lives and sacrificed for me, but I know that I'm happy to be free and in a in this country today.